All right, guys, we're back. This is the Foolish Optimist. I'm very excited about our guest today. You know who I am. My name is Amy McDonald. With us, we have Dani Stabinski. She is running in the U.S. House of Representatives seat in Arizona's 9th District. She is a Navy veteran, an HR professional, and someone who has never quite fit the mold. She holds a master's in industrial organizational psychology and has spent her career focused on people and systems and how we can make it all work better, which is exactly what we need right now. So this is why she's running for Congress in Arizona's 9th District. She thinks too many decisions are made by people who have never had to live with the consequences. So Dani,
Hey,
I love that bio. Thank you for being here.
yeah, thank you for having me. I really appreciate you taking the time to speak with me today. It really does mean the world. So you hit the nail right on the head. I do feel like as millennials, we spoke about being millennials that we're inheriting a system that is breaking. And we're not the ones who broke it, but our generation and Gen Z, they need to be the generation to step up, not with our egos, but with humility and with our lived experiences and with grit to clean it up, to hopefully have a system that works as hard as we do one day. And that's why I think it's more important than ever to run in 2026.
I love that you mentioned that, right? I think there's a stereotype around millennials and Gen Z not wanting to work hard, but like every person that I know that is a millennial, almost every Gen Zer that I know, I don't know that many, I'll be completely honest with you, but almost everyone I've met is out here hustling, right? We come into the world with college debt, most of us, something around there, right? We come into a world that hasn't, like you said, isn't really working for us. And here we are just trying to make the world a better place. So tell me a little bit about your life story. You're a Navy veteran. Maybe we can start there. How did you end up in the Navy?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, I graduated high school in 2010 and dreamt of college. I had big dreams, and I did not come from a family with a lot of money. So when I started my college journey, I incurred some debt and it was like, I was also living on my own at that point, and I just could barely make ends meet. I was choosing between whether or not eating dinner or paying my bills that month.
Mm-hmm.
So I said I need to do something. So I joined the Navy because I wanted to further my education and I knew that I could use my GI Bill. And to be honest with you, it's not glamorous, but it's a guaranteed 3 hot meals and a cot. And this was a time in my life in my very early 20s where I was struggling to survive because I was not born into a wealthy family. I'm
And
afraid.
yeah, as I say, it's a decision that a lot of people make, and I'm biased because my brother's in the Navy. So if you're gonna pick one, the
Yeah,
Navy's not the worst one to go into, you know?
not the worst, but not the best, I don't think. But that was great. I
It's
read
right there.
right there in the middle.
Yeah.
My brother was also in the Navy, and he was like, "Why are you joining the Navy? Only crayon eaters and window lickers join the Navy." And I was like, "You're talking about yourself." He goes, "Well, yes, you're a lot smarter than me." Um,
Oh,
but I saw it as a means to an end. I wanted education, and I would not have the life I have today without joining the Navy. I met my spouse on my ship. We've been married for 9 years now. We have a little girl, and I eventually got my master's degree, not completely paid for. I still have some student debt from before I joined the military, and then my master's was not completely covered by the GI Bill, but I'm in less debt than the average American, the average millennial who was sold the dream that if you work hard and you go to college and you get yourself into debt, that you'll have a good paying job and you can pull yourself up by your bootstraps as long as you work hard. But we're all hustling, we're all out here, we're all working hard, and we're all struggling every day.
yeah. I think one of the favorite things about the bootstraps conversation is that nobody knows the etymology of it. The etymology of it was making fun of someone who was saying they could do something that was impossible because it's physically impossible to pull yourself up from your bootstraps. And that was the start of it. The joke was like, oh, you're going to pull yourself up from your bootstraps, meaning you can't fucking do it.
Right,
It's
right.
not possible. So you've been married for 9 years. You have your master's. What are you doing these days for a profession, or what have you been doing most recently before deciding to run for office?
Yeah, great question. I've done a mix of everything. From before in the Navy, I worked in service industries as a hairdresser. That was my first job. I got my cosmetology license in high school and thought I could pay my way through college that way. Still a struggle.
No.
Uh, Finished, got out of the Navy, got my bachelor's degree, worked as a social worker for some time, and then COVID hit. And then I started working remotely. I got certified with the Society for Human Resource Management to be a certified HR professional. I wanted to work in that field, but I have flexibility right now working in higher education as an advisor. That is just a little easier on my day-to-day schedule right now with a 4-year old, almost 4-year-old.
I was about to say, it's being a parent and having a full-time job is having 2.5 full-time jobs. I mean, quite literally. Let's double click into the social work experience for a little bit, because I feel like that would be damn near invaluable in Congress. I think everything that you've done is really important, but to me right now, for our listeners, we are filming this on the day that the big beautiful bill gets passed, and I feel like social workers are an overlooked portion of our society. So maybe we could talk a little bit about how that experience might shape the way that what you take to Washington.
Yeah, that's a great question. As a social worker, you initially get into that role because you want to help. And I worked for the Department of Children and Families, and I didn't come from a great childhood. So I wanted to help those that I saw a little bit of myself in their shoes. But the first thing that you notice with these systems is once you're in, it's so hard to get out of. There are wealth of people to support you, your caseworker, like myself at that point in general, but they're underfunded, they're overworked, and the court system is expecting miracles. And there are a lot of obstacles for these families to overcome. So that was probably the hardest part of the job, just seeing how hard it was for these people to get back on their feet. And you know that they love their kids and you know that they care for their kids. Sometimes, danger and safety risk is a whole other thing, but there are reasons why children are removed from their home when it's finances or feeding, and SNAP benefits are going to be cut. So if you can't feed your child, do you need to worry about the fear of getting them taken away from you so that someone can? That's a real reality for people.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
served in that position for almost 2 years. COVID came along and house visits and things still need to happen.
Right.
And at that point, someone in my facility, they died from COVID. And I was like, I'm stepping back. I love this work, but I'm making $18 an hour and you want me to work? Yeah. You want me to work 50 hours, but you can't pay us overtime. So I was like, I'm going to leave. I'm going to work on my master's degree. And I eventually thought that I was going to be a school counselor because I've always loved working for children or with children. I'm just working for my toddler now. That's all day long.
Everyone that I talk to that has a toddler, it's like that, right? Like there is it's like a benevolent dictator in your house, It's not too crazy all the time, but when it is crazy, it's crazy. So I get that.
When it comes to her, I think that was a self-fulfilling prophecy because I jokingly called her the boss when she was a baby, and now I'm just like, really? And I hope that she did it, Amy, because she is fierce, absolutely fierce, but like she's gonna need it. But it's good for me. I'm the one helping her get to where she needs to be. But anyway, back on track.
Right. I love that. Well, I do love seeing little girls before they have been told to like calm down. And even when you see that like 2-year-old and her parents are like, she dressed herself and you're like, and she looks fabulous. Don't you dare say a word against my girl and her tutu and her like whatever dinosaur onesie on underneath. I don't want to hear that slander. I love that.
She put on a pair of bell bottoms the other day and a mermaid dress and went to school. It was a look. And I was like, are you sure you want to change? No. Okay.
Yeah, girl.
Saw my friend after, and she's like, so, did you dress her for like Spirit Day? And I was like, nope, she's dressing herself. She can make these choices.
I love that. I love that. A little autonomy and a little bit of fashion mixed together. It's perfect. It's perfect. I mean, obviously, being a parent probably colors not just your day to day life, but how you're thinking about probably the campaign. You know, obviously, campaigning is a time commitment that people don't really understand until they're in it, but also what a win and traveling back and forth between DC and Arizona looks like. I mean, you're covering the whole country pretty much, just on flights.
Yeah,
You get those
absolutely.
points.
So that is definitely I taken away out of my busy schedule and her busy schedule. I try to include her in as much as possible, but I'm not going to knock on doors with her. I'm not putting her in
Yep.
any situation that's not safe. I want to keep her out of the public eye as much as possible. Um, so it is a big time commitment, but I think it's also important because if people like you and me, people who believe in the future that we were told we could have, it's
Yeah.
more important than ever for everyday working class individuals to get into office. So that way, my daughter's generation and her children, if she chooses to have them, what is the system they will inherit from us? I don't want them to be in the position we are 30, 40 years from now.
Right. Right. I
So it's
know.
time
Well, and
to
there's so many aspects to it, right? It's like the system, but also the environment and also everything in between. So let's talk a little bit about your district. Can you map out for people where the ninth district is on the Arizona map?
Yeah. The ninth district in Arizona is vast. It spans parts of Yuma County down towards the southern border, all the way up western Arizona to border Utah and Nevada. So it's Kingman, Bullhead City, Lake Havasu, and then parts of Metro Phoenix as well in the West Valley. We have Surprise, Buckeye, Goodyear, parts of Glendale and Avondale. It's huge. A lot of ground to cover. Is
You're
Surprise.
in surprise.
Yeah. Closer to the city of in Phoenix and,
That's
um,
just so cute.
Western Arizona is very royal. Surprise is, it's growing. It's growing.
Okay, cool. Maybe we can start with what do you think the issues are that are keeping people up at night in your district?
Yeah, I see education a huge concern for the majority of voters in Arizona. The main reason being right now is Arizona has something called the Empowerment Scholarship Account, where public tax dollars are going towards this ESA. And those ESAs can be used by private schools and homeschooled families. So a lot of public funds that were expected to empower children are now going to private pockets and taking public funds from our education. And our schools are overcrowded. Arizona is 49th on the list for student funding. On average, the nation gives about $15,000 per student each year. That's the
Okay.
nation. Arizona on average does 10,000 per students. Huge
Mm,
divide, and it's
yeah.
cost.
I mean, it's a third for everyone who's not wanting to do the math. That is
Yeah,
33.3333%. Like that's a lot. That's a lot. And the number nationally, the average is low already.
it is.
But is this ESA program, is that akin to a vouchers program for people who live in okay, I was hearing it and I was like, I think that's it, but it might be
Sure.
slightly different.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Most recently, we've heard of these vouchers being used to send affluent upper middle class families, and that's fine too. Their kids to go to baseball camp during the summer. And I love that you could do that, but that
Shouldn't be
fund
coming from, yeah.
not in the public pocket when we have teacher
Yeah.
shortages, overcrowded classrooms here in Arizona, and a huge inequity in education between zip codes. The
Yeah.
education's not the same in Kingman, Arizona as it is in Scottsdale, Arizona. It's drastically different.
Of course not. Right. I mean, and that's something we see across the nation. But when you start seeing these like major cities that are abutting the rural or the desert or what have you, it's completely different because
I
our
I saw
systems.
saw it firsthand growing up. I moved a lot. I went to 4 different high schools. in multiple different states. So one high school may have taught physics in ninth grade, whereas another high school may have taught it in 12th grade. And then they're like, oh, well, you kind of missed it. And they didn't really care to make you make it up unless
Right.
some of these schools had standardized testing, but and they're like, oh, you can test out of it. But I saw the inequity between schools, between states, that education across our nation is not equal, and it decentralizes or hinders social mobility.
100%. Oh, yeah. No, I mean, education, and to me, it's like education and healthcare are the silver bullets. But education, there's nothing that can beat it. If you're given the opportunities, if you're given that one teacher who fucking believes in you, I mean, that's to me, that's like life changing, right? Um, are there any other issues that you're thinking about or that you're hearing from your potential constituents that are up there?
Obviously, on everyone's mind right now is the cost of living and the economy. So with that, the economy is always someone's largest issue, and I understand why it's important, but I it's important for people to see that education is a pipeline into the economy. If we're not funding schools, we're not funding a workforce. No one will be prepared
Right.
to the jobs that we need. But I do see that being a huge issue for voters here and the wealth gap in the United States. Have
Yeah.
you ever heard of something called the Great Compression?
I haven't.
Okay. So around the 1950s was the smallest wealth inequity between the richest
Mhm.
and the poorest people. And that was because I think if you made it over $4 million, anything over that $4 million, which is like 54 million now, was taxed
Right.
at 90% and put back into the middle class. So their jobs rate or their pay was increased, and the wealthy kind of hit like a flat line. I think that could be possible again. But
Yeah.
as most every people do, they want us to tax the wealthy, and it's, I don't want to tax the people making six figures. That's
No.
not the problem
No.
here. It's that top 1% that holds the majority of the wealth.
So I did know what it was. I didn't know what it was called. And I do
Okay.
think that a lot of people have bought into this idea in the United States when they hear make America great again. They are thinking about this time period where there was a lot of social mobility. There were a lot of opportunities for working class and middle class Americans to buy homes. They are thinking about times that, for a lot, not all Americans, but a lot of Americans were coming back from World War II with a very strong GI Bill, things like that. And I think a lot of people have forgotten that our tax dollars are supposed to go back to us in some form or fashion. Maybe it's education. Yeah, maybe education, maybe it's healthcare, maybe it's housing, maybe it's social safety nets like SNAP, and making sure that children with disabilities have the things that they need at no cost to the parents, because if we help them do that, then everything is better. But I think
Yeah,
people forget that's why we like that time. Yeah. That-
I agree. I agree. If you were to really envision a Make America Great Again ideal, that is different from MAGA, it would be somebody like featuring the 1950s and like this boom after World War II. And that was the height of the Great Compression. And I think that if we invest in the public, it creates more opportunities for the public. And what really breaks my heart about the Big Beautiful Bill is the cuts to SNAP and Medicaid because of their effects to children.
yeah,
Um, 50% of babies in the United States are born on Medicaid. And I'm not saying it's a perfect system, but the right side of the aisle has had over 10 years to give us something other than the Affordable Care Act.
true. That's a really good point. I mean, it's
They have
it's
not proposed anything new, right? Am I missing something?
no, I don't. I think you're right. I'm trying to like rack my brain instead. Well, and this is part of the issue in Washington D.C. that I think almost everyone wants to see change, whether right, left, middle of the road. Everyone wants to see a more useful Washington. And I think both sides do this. I think both sides are a little bit of obstructionists to each other. but I think the art of politicking and the art of representing the people that you got elected by has kind of gone by the wayside. So maybe you could talk a little bit about how you would be able to work with people who are of differing opinions than yourself.
That's a great question, Amy. It's imperative for us to have differing opinions because without it, if we are contained in the silo, you have effects like groupthink, where everyone's like, yeah, that's a great idea. And they hype each other up to the point where you think it's such a great idea, but you have no outside input. So you have a myopic perspective. So as someone with a background in IO psychology, I've studied ways to build teams and manage conflict. I really think that we need an HR minded individual in between these people, regardless of party lines. I may identify as a Democrat, but I don't really, I have plenty of friends who are Republicans, plenty of who are independent, plenty of Democrats. We're all people that come from here. That's all that
Yeah.
matters to me. Unity is
Yeah.
our big strength. That's how we would get the most done. So in my mind, the way I see it is if I get to Congress, I would love to find some similar minded individuals on the right hand side and work diligently together to co sponsor as many bills as possible to show a united front. I think that's how we'll get the most efficient democracy.
Yeah. No, I know. I literally heard you saying that and I was like, there it is. There's the master's in psychology. It's coming out. We got it. I mean, it's true, right? I think we've been forced into this system with 24 hour news cycles and like very us versus them. But in reality, it's no, it's just us. We're all together. We're all in this boat together, and we're all sort of rowing in different directions right now, which is not helpful.
A funny picture to imagine, though. You know, I'm very visual, so I imagine like a lake of people just hitting each other some a lake.
And you're like, we're trying, but we're not getting anywhere. And you're like, oh, it's shocking, right?
That sounds good for even people who are in the same parties. You know, obviously, like
Totally.
Democrats can have different opinions. You have like a moderate versus a very leftist. They're going to have differing opinions. So I think that now more than ever, both parties are at a crossroads and a slight identity crisis of what do we want this party to be?
Yeah.
Both.
No, the identity crisis is fucking real for all parties involved. Yeah, I think every single party, you're right, is having an identity crisis. I think the United States itself is having a little bit of an identity crisis of like who we want to be and like you were talking about what the future of the US looks like for most Americans, right?
It's important. I'm also something I see like our nation struggling with as a whole is this like nationalistic ideals of America first and we're better than everybody. And like, yes, America first. I love that. I do. But unity and strength, or there's strength and unity.
Yeah.
We need our neighbors across the pond. We need NATO. The more there are of us, the better for the entire planet, which ultimately we all live on and need to care for.
Yeah. Yes, truly. There's a cyclical nature to history, and we always go through these like random isolationist periods, and then unfortunately during that time something bad happens, and I'm kind of personally waiting for the other shoe to drop, but that's just me and my pattern recognition. So you know, realistically, when we're looking at your district, currently you are running against Paul Gosser. He's been in that seat for a while. And in off years, from the numbers that I could find, I couldn't find numbers on your Arizona Department of State by congressional district. So I don't know if you have those numbers, but you know, in 2022, we had somewhere around like 250,000 people, or no, I think it was less than that. It was a very small number of people show up in the off years. And then during the big presidential election, we got close to like 380,000. So I guess, you know, looking at this from a couple perspectives. One, a lot of people don't always show up during these off years, but two, you have a lot of land, physical land to cover in this district. What is your thought process around getting to all the different types of people, the city people, the I keep calling it rural, but I think you guys are more in the desert, the not city people, and then of course, obviously, as you get up towards Nevada, some of these more like just this massive space with a lot of people. What's your plan there?
On how to reach all of those voters.
how to physically get to all of them and how to get
Yeah.
them to come to the polls.
Yeah, that's a great question. We need community. It always comes down to community. So I'm really working on building a network of individuals with similar ideals that want to build a better future together and understands that this is a grassroots initiative. We don't have a lot of money. I can't afford to pay my volunteers. That's why you're a volunteer, but as many people out to canvas as possible, to make as many phone calls, to just let people know that there is an election in 2026, of course.
Yes.
Like we need to get out there, we need to do what's best, but it's really, I know that there are people out in some rural areas that it may be hard to connect with because they will immediately see she's a Democrat, I don't want anything to do with it. So I think the biggest focus needs to be the independent voters
Yeah.
here in our district. They outweigh the Republicans and independents here. Those independent thinkers. So I
Yeah.
need to reach out. I need to get out to. I need to reach out to those folks. So I am going to different meetings. I'm trying to go to at least one a week, in different legislative districts and different counties all over my district to network as much as I can, talk to people. I'm hoping that, we're a year and a half ish away from the election, that we have enough time to at least get the name recognition out there. This is the most Republican district in Arizona.
I've noticed. Yeah. I mean, it's like plus 15, the last presidential election, and that's
Yes, and
a
and the
lot.
left Ghost Star got like 63% of the votes.
Yes, I saw that. And but again, it's not everyone's not showing up.
Right.
I mean, and in that presidential election as well, obviously, that's not like an apples to apples comparison to this. Obviously, off year elections are midterms are great for people in the House of Representatives because less people show up. I know that sounds terrible to say, but that just means, it'll have the presidential election to come out and support and really like get fired up about it. And if they're not super fired up about Paul Gosser, then it's not, then maybe they just don't take the time out of their day that day. Right. So I think
I
that's a
mean, and
great
that's a big
plan.
problem. Voter turnout and it is
Yeah.
a problem. Even when it's presidential election years, it's like that's like saying you work somewhere, you have a maintenance call meeting, and like 30% of your employees don't show up. Like,
I
where are they?
That's always my question. People are like, we're talking about voter fraud. I'm like, we can't get people to show up one time. You think we're getting people to show up twice? What? No, no. And I know that's not how voter fraud works exactly, but like, I'm like, come on, guys. Nobody even wants to do it. Why would people be breaking the rules to do it with
It's
the threat
harder.
of jail and all these other things?
It's harder and harder to get out and vote these days.
Yes.
It's like I can't. You don't have like. Are you trying to get rid of mail-in ballots, or if those states don't offer them, there. Some people would like to get rid of early elections. If that's their case, if you can't vote early, then make it a national holiday. Give everyone the
Just
day off,
exactly. 100%.
right? Make it a national holiday. You give me other days off for history. That's great, but like I got stuff to do this day. Like
Yeah.
give me a half day at least to go wait in lines. Provide me, if it's hot outside in Arizona, provide me water while I wait in this line if I'm out of it. Like make it easier and more
Yeah.
acceptable for people to vote.
That is a problem happening all over the country, right? Like there's forces at work trying to make it harder to vote, whether that is removing those mail-in ballots or doing voter roll purging. I mean, that happens every year in every single state. And it's, we're talking about, I live in New York City. Some of these people have lived in their apartment for 40 plus years. Like, and they're like, my voter registration's up, Yeah, I'm with you on that as well, right? I think you and I probably agree on most things. I'm probably a little bit further left than you are. Can you tell everyone where to follow your campaign and how to get involved, especially for the people in the Arizona 9th District?
Yeah.
And
My website is sterbinskyforcongress.com. That's Sterbinsky. I know it's a mouthful. Um, you can find information there about myself, about like what I find important in our district and nationally. You can also, if you're in Arizona's 9th district, I am still collecting signatures to appear on the primary ballot. So that is first order of business, anyone and everyone, if they're able, you need to be an independent or a Democrat to sign the nomination petition. I need about 3,000 signatures to comfortably be like, yes, we qualify.
Oh
Ideally,
yeah.
most of them would be electronic because I'm not sure, you probably know, but if they are on paper, they can be contested. And if they are contested, then you have to hire a lawyer to help you fight for every signature. And that can cost upwards of $20,000.
That's crazy. I didn't, is that just an Arizona thing or is that
Um,
elsewhere?
I'm sure that's all over. Arizona has like an electronic qualification. So those can be
Okay.
contested. They're checked before you even sign them, whether or not you're a registered voter in that area.
Right.
Um, but it's even as silly as like if you write outside the line on the petition on paper, like you're supposed to say inside the box. And if you have one little line, like they can contest it.
And of
It,
course they make the boxes too small. They're
yeah.
always too small. Like,
And
especially
no
with
one
you have a long name like that, like Danielle Sterbinsky. That's a long name to sign. That could be outside the fucking box.
It could be. And as often as you're like, please stay inside the line, it's very hard to like for people to listen to you.
Well, and you're what? You got a clipboard, and you're like, can you? They're on the street. They're like, right. Like,
Yeah, they're like
that's crazy,
about. But
right?
you can
Wow.
find the petition on my website if any listeners are in Arizona's 9th district. You can sign the petition online. You can also donate to the campaign. And asking money for people is uncomfortable when you were raised to be a very independent person. But it is imperative to get our message out. It helps us reach more voters in this very large district. We're not accepting any money from corporate PACs. Ideally, our donations are coming from people who are giving under $200.
Hell yeah, that's amazing. I mean, I'm smiling because I completely understand that feeling. I hate asking people for money, even when it's a really great cause and even when it's like required, right? We know that there's a certain amount of money that it costs to run these campaigns. There's a certain amount of money to buy ads on the television and on radio and even podcasts. And there's money that's involved just getting your name on the ballot. So
Yeah.
you should all donate is what I'm saying. Go to the website, Sterbinsky4congress.com. Find the donate button. It's not hard. You can all read. I believe in you.
Even a dollar will help us print some more literature, pay for gas for me to drive around this district to meet some people. Paul Gosar currently has raised about $50,000 for his reelection. Most from what I can tell are PACs, from what I can see on the FEC website. That's okay. That's just not how we're going to do it. And if we can beat him with less money, because word of mouth is the best advertisement and it doesn't cost you a dime to tell somebody, hey, look up Dani and get to know her a little. She's just like you. She's pretty normal, pretty chill. And I still answer every email because I don't get that many yet. So now's the time to ask me any questions.
Send the emails in, send your questions in. Honestly, I mean, that's actually a really good point, right? When you are a smaller campaign, there is a lot more FaceTime with the candidates rather than this like big national name. Gosar is a national name. He has made a name for himself in a handful of different ways. But again, I think you're right. I think that ground game, talking to people, knocking on doors, making those phone calls, texting, and getting enough money to at least get the names of the people you need to be targeting, like those independents and things like that.
Yeah. The voter alone is expensive, but we can move on from that.
That should be free to anyone that has like, I think that is like one of the number one pieces of reform that I would like to see. I think that would open up the ballot to people, to working class people, right?
I would agree. The one thing I would love to see as far as reform with money in politics, and then we can move on, is a public option where a government where you donate 25 and then the government gives you like 125. So it's a great way to keep.
That's what New York City does in our local elections.
Yes, love that.
Yeah, we have a matching program. Yeah, which is good. But then, of course, we're a couple weeks out from the primary in New York, and we had over 30 million in PACs donated to one candidate's campaign in 7 days. DoorDash. It was DoorDash delivering things to my fucking door saying that Zohran Mamdani with the beard cover, like the heavier beard, making him look even more Middle Eastern than he is. You like it was fucking DoorDash. So if you're supporting DoorDash, don't. All those drivers can get money off of other
Ah,
apps. You don't need to support them. Yeah.
cancel your
I know.
right now.
I literally saw it and I was like, DoorDash, you motherfuckers. It was DoorDash and Bloomberg. So okay. Our last little segment here before we wrap up is 10 randomized questions about you, mostly yes or no. And yeah, so they're pretty quick. So would you rather live in the city or in a more quiet part of town?
More quiet part of town.
Bless. I mean, I live in Brooklyn and
It's like
I
I would
feel
like
overstimulated.
yeah, I need some peace and quiet. I need to be within driving distance of the city though, Amy. Let's be clear. I gotta go dilly dally. Okay, I
Yeah,
gotta go
I
dilly
want to
dally.
dilly dally. I need to smell the candles and I need to get like a latte and then
Yes.
who's to say what happens next? But those things
Yeah.
need to be on the horizon. I love it. Same. What's the last book that you read cover to cover?
Political Gladiators. I'm not sure if you've heard of it. It's a book by a gentleman from New York named Josh Lafazan. So he wrote a book for millennials by a millennial on like everything, like what to do when you're running for office. It was a really good read. It was nice to get to know about him and his race and like how he overcame everything at such a 18 years old. So that was my most recent. And it's my most recent book because he sent me a free copy and he signed it. So I just got it last week. And I was like, yeah, sure, I'm gonna read it. It's not too big. So
That's so cool. I mean, that's awesome though. I mean, helpful and a signed I'm a book nerd. I love a signed copy of anything. I will fall for it every time.
I'm a big book person.
Yeah, it's the best. Well, since we're on the subject, do you have a favorite book? Like of all time? I know.
The Midnight Library.
I've never heard of that. I want to write that down.
Yes, The Midnight Library. I believe the author is called Matt Haig, maybe, if I remember correctly. It's a story that talks about a woman who lost her life and she's kind of in like purgatory, exploring all the different lives she could have had
Oh,
in this
I read
library.
that.
Yeah.
In the library, no less. I love the library settings. It's the best. Are you are you more of a morning person or a night owl?
Afternoon. No, a morning person now for sure, but that was not by choice. My 4-year-old has turned me into one.
I was about to say maybe the Navy did, but I feel like the Navy you could
No, I
upgrade as
still
a night
hated
owl
it. I
pretty
still
well.
hated my shift in the Navy was 6 hours on, 6 hours off.
So it just depended on the day.
Yeah, really, it just depended on what shift you got that day. 6 hours on, 6 hours off. They call it port and starboard.
Ugh, that sounds. Um, if you had to eat one breakfast every day for the rest of your life, what would it be? Do you eat breakfast? Question one.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, it's my first meal of the day but it's usually around lunchtime. This is such a kid's meal. If I had to eat one breakfast for the rest of my life, it would be Honey Nut Cheerios with cut up bananas. That's my
Honestly,
go-to.
that's a strong breakfast. That's a good breakfast. That's a good choice.
That or oatmeal. That or oatmeal.
I do love oatmeal, but it's been too hot for it recently. Are you more of a person, dog person, or are you like, do you have a random pet that's like a reptile or a rock or something?
I don't do critters, but rocks are great. We have a whole bunch of pet rocks in my backyard. I have 2 dogs. I have 2 healers. One is red and one is blue. So I literally have Bluey and Bingo, but more like Muffin. Really,
You're such a 4-year-old mom.
yeah. I was like, I've got a Bingo. She's great. Her name is E, and then my blue healer is a crazy little nut. But I love cats. I grew up with cats. My husband is very allergic, so maybe when he dies, I'll get one in like 40 years.
and hopefully a very, very long
A
time.
very
Yeah.
long time. I don't need a cat that bad. I did look into the hairless sphinxes, but they're like $2,000 for a sphinx.
You also have to worry about their they get acne really badly. And I like, you know, you have to moisturize them a lot. And so it's like you kind of have like a little they're cute. And I like watching them on social media, but when I think about like cuddling it, I'm like, I think I would feel like I'm holding a little bit of a raw chicken, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I guess, were you a Friends fan? All I can think about is that episode of Rachel when she gets the cat.
Yeah, literally though. And it's just like crazy, crazy. I mean, they do. I've seen a lot of them on the internet that seem really nice and normal, but you're right. That is one of my first thoughts. Okay. Let's see. I'm trying to pick random ones because now if I go in order, they are, you've seen all of them, right? Because I've got a bunch of episodes coming out. So do you have a favorite politician, whether that is like historical or current, that you like really align with, whether they're in the party or not, but like someone that you really respect?
Yeah, that's a good question. Um, I would say Jimmy Carter, hands down.
Yeah.
Respect. You know, policy differences aside, that man was the epitome of a servant leader. He cared so much about not looking like he had special interests that he sold his beloved peanut farm when he took the presidency. And I know that man didn't want to get rid of his peanut farm. Okay. I know.
To his like lightly degenerate brother. Gotta love it. I mean, that he really was. I mean, he was fucking building houses until like 6 months before he passed away.
Yeah. Really great.
Yeah, I love Jimmy Carter.
Just randomly, because we're similar in age, and I was thinking about this the other day. What is your first political memory? Like, when do you remember learning about something about politics?
My dad, so in North Carolina, I grew up in Charlotte, North Carolina, and everyone now knows North Carolina as a very purple state. It was very red, but I grew up in a very, very liberal family, and my dad decided that he knew that the state would go red, but he thought that John McCain would be a better president than George W. Bush. So my first memory is going to help campaign with my dad for John McCain in 1999.
Nice.
And my dad was a construction guy at the time, and he literally put a McCain sign up on the side, like this, like big, almost banner. It wasn't like a flag, but it was a straight up banner that came out of like two of the sides of the truck. And he always had voter registration forms on him. He always had like would answer every question he could. But yeah, that's my first. What's your first
Oh,
political
yours
memory?
is much better than mine. And McCain is an amazing, revered politician as well. Like, we lost someone great with McCain.
Well, and like
Uh,
2000 McCain compared to 2008 McCain,
yeah.
for the young people listening, it was a completely different person, in my opinion. Yeah, that's all I can say. You can look it up.
Yeah, yeah. Look it up. Yes, I would agree. But I will still say that, like, that 2000 year, McCain was still in there when he was like, no, we're not cutting Medicaid back in what, 2000?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. He was still there. Yours is much better than mine, though. Mine was Bill Clinton and the I did not have relations with that woman thing. That was my first, like, that's our president. What's that? And then I learned a lot that day I didn't ask for.
I was actually having a conversation with someone about this today, about the treatment of Monica Lewinsky and just like the failure that was the early 90s around that, or like mid 90s. And I do remember that, but I don't remember even registering that Bill Clinton was our president. I really don't. So, yeah, I don't.
It weirdly inspired me to learn, like, the presidents before him. I had this bookmark with all of their, like, portraits on it after that, and that was the only tip, or not tips, but only fact I could name about a president at that age of my life. So I'm sure my dad
So,
loved.
I mean, the weird thing about me is like, since I could read, I've been reading about Franklin Roosevelt. I thought you were talking about like politics in our own personal life. The Foolish Optimist is a quote from Franklin Roosevelt. right? From his first inaugural address, it's something to the effect of like, only a foolish optimist would disregard our current situation, right? I have a tattoo of something Franklin Roosevelt said down the side of my body. Like, I love Frank. I did during COVID, I did fire escape chats on social media because I love Franklin Roosevelt so much. So like, that's been, I live in New York.
Like his fire night, like his fireside snack. I like that.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah. And it was just like hoarding from downtown Manhattan, which was like ground zero for COVID, and just telling people what was going on and like how we were doing, right? Because people were like, what's going on? Is everything okay? Is there so many people be like, is crime on the rise? I was like, no, everyone left. Hey, we still have the same amount of cops on the street and nobody's in town. Everyone's
Quiet and let him see New York. The quiet and still
I
let him
did.
see.
It literally was. I mean, it was like, it was
Eerie.
insane. But yeah, I love Franklin Roosevelt and I love Eleanor Roosevelt, and I'm currently getting into Teddy Roosevelt. I think, obviously 2 different branches of the family, but like
Right.
formative people for our nation and how, like, when we were talking about that Great Compression earlier, that is a direct result of Franklin Roosevelt's administration, and obviously had 12 years to get shit done. So that's different than anyone else has ever had.
Yeah,
But
extenuating circumstances, but Eleanor Roosevelt was, a goat.
well, she was a fucking powerhouse. Like, just
Icon.
before,
Real-
during, after, everything about her, like, forever has been a powerhouse as well. So, that was a great question. Thank you. I have one more question for you, and then we're gonna call it a day. What is your favorite thing about your district?
It's a good question. It's stunning. It's absolutely beautiful. The landscape is my favorite thing. And of course, the people that I've met are amazing people. I feel like most of the Arizonans I've met are not born and raised in Arizona. It's kind of a melting pot here. So it's a wealth of culture to learn and explore. But hands down, the landscape is the best. It's absolutely stunning. 9 months out of the year, I don't recommend it this time of year.
Ow. You're like, not right now. I know it's a million degrees, but well, guys, this has been our episode. This is Dani Stabinski. You can follow her campaign. You can donate at Sterbinsky4Congress.com. You can follow her on TikTok and Instagram as well, I believe, right? Am I making that up? Or just TikTok?
Yeah, no, I'm not really
Sterbinsky
just
for
TikTok.
Congress.
I'm like the least social millennial that you'll like as far as social media goes. I'm not great with it, but I'm trying. I'm getting better. TikTok was a big step.
Well, that's huge. Soon you will have a social media intern who gets to handle it. So again, guys, Sterbinsky for Congress. Follow along. I really appreciate you taking the time. You're very fun. I'm so excited to see where you go.
Thank you.
And yeah, if you live in Arizona night, go sign the fucking petition. Get her on that.
Need like 900, at least 900 more signatures. Like by Christmas would be great.
Oh yeah, that's doable. We can do more.
All right. Amy, it was so nice talking to you. It's been so fun. I feel like you and I have been friends for a lot longer than this hour conversation.
We're kindred spirits. We're the early 90s babies that made it out. We came to the other side and here we are. So thanks.
Well, thanks so much. You have a great night.
You too. If you've made it this far, thank you so much. Thank you for following The Foolish Optimist. You can follow us on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts pretty much. We're going to be dropping new episodes every Wednesday, and you can watch the video episodes on YouTube. If you would like to, please give us a review, leave comments. You can also email us at thefoolishoptimistpodcast@gmail.com. If you see any really great candidates that I should be talking to, send them my way.